game that stops pushing back will eventually get solved. And once it gets solved, it's game over. Checkpoint 19 is designed never to reach that point. Hello, welcome to the third episode of the game design series of Checkpoint 19. My name is Miguel, and today we will be analyzing how to design a game system that keeps pushing back. Without further ado, let's look into the core system of Checkpoint 19. At the core, we have a loop made out of three elements: staff, buildings, and border crossers. Staff is assigned to buildings. Buildings determine what staff do, and both act upon border crossers. But border crossers also affect how staff behaves, and that creates the loop. Any change on one of these elements will destabilize the system, and the player is able to control two out of the three elements. They will be able to control the staff members, they will be able to hire new staff members, assign staff members to different buildings, and they will also be able to control the buildings, where the buildings are built and who is operating those buildings. But they are not able to control the border crossers. They will not be able to control the numbers of vehicles that are coming in, the number of felons, and the type of felonies that may arise. And that creates the imbalance in the system and requires the player to keep the attention and to keep performing actions to keep the balance in the system. Even with this simple loop, there are two extremes that we must avoid. One of it is the 100% random. We don't want to make the number of vehicles that spawn 100% random. We also don't want to make the number of felons that come in or come out 100% random. And we also don't want the type of felonies that come in or go out 100% random. If you do so, the player will be frustrated because he can't strategize. He can't somewhat predict what the game will do and create a strategy to avoid that from happening or mitigating the problems. On the other hand, we also don't want the system to be 100% predictable. If the game is 100% predictable, there will be no challenge for the player. Even if the system is creating the opposite reaction of what the player is doing. That creates kind of an unfair feeling. Imagine that the player was doing something and then the game was making the opposite to contradict what the player just did. This would feel kind of cheating by the game. We don't want that. We don't want the player to feel that the game is unfair. So the challenge here is to find the sweet spot between these two extremes. Where is the right point of randomness and what is the right point of predictability? Let's go back to Checkpoint 19 and see how Checkpoint 19 handles this balance. Some things will be more predictable than others, like vehicles will be spawning at different rates throughout the day. The same will happen for felons, but the type of felonies that will be spawning, that will change, and that will not be predictable. The same will happen for staff. So staff members will have attributes that are more predictable than others. For example, staff members will have skill, and the higher the skill, the faster they perform their work. They will also have energy. The less energy they have, the more prompt to errors they are. The thing is not the player doesn't know what can happen, but when it will happen. Because a staff making a mistake on someone that shouldn't be coming in a certain time and don't come in is not the same that someone that shouldn't be coming in and the staff lets him in. That will create a constant lookout and a constant required for small adaptations in the system. But even when the player masters the system and knows when things can happen or what can happen, the game will throw at him different events, things that will make him change the whole setting to accommodate major changes. That will keep the player engaged, and that will make the player learn the new patterns that will arise. The goal is not to make the game harder, but to keep the system alive, to make the player perform changes and adapt their system to new variables, subtle or more drastic. There will even be things that will require the player to relearn what he knew, or what he thought he knew, to discover new patterns that will arise from major changes. But I will be exploring that more in the next episode. If you like the game concept, wishlist it on Steam, and if you want to be part of the development process, consider supporting us on Kickstarter. Links are in the description. Thank you for being with me, and see you in the next episode.